Hello race fans and welcome to the Exiled Virtual Motorsports GT3 Solo Championship Season 8 Round 10. Tonight we're wrapping up the Season 8 Championship here at Spa Francorchamps. We unfortunately had to miss a few rounds due to a few illnesses and some technical difficulties, but we are back and we're here for one cracking finale. So this race this evening is brought to you by Turn 1, providing the YouTube channel, Simsport Solutions, who's providing all of the magnificent camera work, and producer Steve will be joining me for a little bit of commentary this evening, as I will be largely flying solo. And we also have the lovely people who are helping us out tonight at simracing.gp. If you want to get in on the action, Season 9 signups for Exiled Virtual Motorsports is now open, so head on over to simracing.gp to check that out. Our lovely automotive experts at JCT 600, our content creator support in Boonatix, and the newest sponsor for Turn 1, which you'll occasionally see scroll across your screen, Demon Tweaks. So, and of course, I am Celine with Turn 1, joined by producer Steve, who's taking up the microphone, so I'm not completely alone in the booth. How are we doing tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Celine. Great to be back, and what a way to come back for the final round at Spa. It's going to be a fantastic race, isn't it, here? Spa's known for having its own little microclimate. It can be glorious everywhere else and very wet here, but so far qualifying is looking dry. Looking to see some good lap times coming in from the guys and girls out there tonight. And, yeah, let's see what 60 minutes of racing at Spa can bring us.
Absolutely. If, as we all know, the Total 24 Hours of Spa is the big race, and it holds many surprises. Hopefully we'll see a few surprises this evening. Of course, we're not going to have quite the big 24-hour marathon that is in the real world race, but we will see what we can manage this evening. So, I believe the AM cars have just finished their qualifying runs, and we might be moving out to the pro class, who are now going to be starting to set a few laps. We'll wait and see as those pop up on the timing screen, but we shall see if perhaps once a few of them have started setting some hot laps, we'll see if we can jump on board with somebody and take you around this magnificent, historic, and revised a few times circuit here in Belgium.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult circuit in some respects of being consistent, because the lap is such a long lap, and it's it's very shall we say awkward to string a lap together sometimes, because there are a few areas where you can lose a few tenths here and there, and as I say, it's such a long lap that you quite often see some variations in lap times and some relatively big gaps sometimes, but we've got a level of drivers in the server this evening that I think will keep it fairly tight and fairly close, and it's all to play for with the final round of the championship. It's going to be a good one. I don't think anyone's going to leave anything on the line, but as you said, I think we should jump to an onboard, and I think Pendergast in the 105 McLaren. Oh no, I say that, and he's actually just jumped down the pit lane just to spoil all our fun, but I'm sure somebody else is ready to go around for us, so if I'll let you take this away to do a lap of Spa.
Alright, so we'll be riding on board with David Oak here in the number 13 car, as we're just popping through La Source, which is obviously the first hairpin turn, as we're going from one side of the pit lane to the other. Remember, it's full-size endurance pit lane here, so a bit of a trek through the infamous Eau Rouge and up Radion for this hot lap. We've got to be careful of those track limits there. I think David was just managing to keep lane, even though he was banging and crashing a little bit down the long tunnel straight here. And now we've got a quick right-left-right conflicts coming up as I power through this thing. Remember, you got to make sure you don't really load your car there, as you see David just pushing as hard as he can, using all of those curbs and the track down to the process hairpin. This one, you can take it a little faster than some hairpins. You know, it seems like you're going down at a crawl with this lap being surprisingly fast, but you can carry a little bit more speed through there. Antonioni that we just went through with David. Here's the infamous blonde, which as you can see, some people going off a little bit there if you take it just a little bit too hot, but managing to keep the lap fairly well composed. Now we're down in the Stavalos complex. Now, depending on what cars these competitors have taken tonight, you can use a little bit more, a little bit less. The BMW can attack the curves a little bit more than some. As you can see, David using just a little bit all of the road to open up the corners as much as possible, and also using those curbs to help rotate the car a little bit to keep that high speed. Remember, even though there's many twists and turns on Spa, it is a very high-speed track now as we're through the final middle of the lap here through Blanchemont and the high-speed section, headed for that bus stop, and obviously this is one of the best passing opportunities for the last of the late breakers, through the bus stop chicane and through the timing line for the finish, and where you record your quali time, and we'll see David Oak jump up in the third position. But speaking of qualifying times, I just wanted to point out she was sitting on provisional pole and is sitting fourth now from the AM class. Violet Miller, who was a late joiner to this this season, and actually setting the AM times a little bit of a light with an 18.585. Now that's the sort of thing you'd almost expect to see from some of the pro cars, let alone the AMs. So big shout out to Violet this evening, setting the quali board alight.
Yeah, absolutely great stuff to see Violet up there, now just dropping down to P5, but you know, pole position for the AM class. That's a great result, and an excellent time, and a big gap relatively back to second place in the AMs as well. So really stamping some authority on that as we see Seville just going round and getting into the very low 217s, almost breaking into that magical 216, which we know 216 is achievable, and it is a very quick lap round here. And we know Jonathan Seville will keep trying as he's pushing again. He's just he's staying out there, and he's going for a few flying laps now.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan setting the pace as we'd often expect, and when looking at the times, he's done a 2-minute 17.025. His next closest competitor, at least at the moment, is Anders Admundsen, his championship rival from last season, but he's unfortunately down on a 218.3, so talk about coming in and putting your thing down. That's over a second faster than the next place car, so Jonathan very much looking to set the pace here this evening, and well, as I'm sure looking to assert a very dominant victory here this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Oscar Sandberg, he's 0.3 of a second up on his best lap at the moment, so he's looking to improve, albeit he won't get that far forward with that if he does carry the 3/10 round to the finish line. It may just poke him up into 4th or 5th place, depending how much he can drag along, but he's staying 3/10 up at the moment, so he's carrying it. Having said that, he's just exited that corner there and just lost a 10th, so he's now 2/10 up, and I don't think 2/10 will actually take him any further forward, so he does need to keep pushing, does Oscar.
Absolutely, and as Steve was mentioning there earlier, you know, with it being such a long lap there, it's very important, as we see Kieran Pendergast go P2 with the 2:17.060. The gauntlet is definitely being thrown down now with these two rivals very much trying to hammer it out for the glory in the last race. Unfortunately, the current P2 in the individual standings, Garrett Fisher, is well, he's away on vacation, so unfortunately he's not going to be participating in tonight's race, so I don't think he'll be scoring any more points unless he manages to magically appear on track. But Seville and Pendergast just absolutely jousting it out here as the qualifying session is now ticked over, but we shall see where everyone shakes out. But so far it looks like we have Oscar Sandberg moving up into 3rd place, but still over a second behind Jonathan Seville and Kieran Pendergast at the moment.
Yeah, it looks
Wow.
like we've only got 1-2 cars still really on flying laps at this moment in time, so people just accepting their fate at the moment and backing off. No one's actually going green, no one's improving, so it's a bit of a quiet end to this qualifying session this evening.
we have now, we have two cars, pardon me, left with about a minute left in the session, and looks like we are going to have Truls Solberg currently in 12th position, hasn't quite gotten his lap together just yet, but we do know that he's got a lot more pace around here than he's currently showing at the moment, so we'll see if he manages to put in a faster time. 45 seconds left to go, so that should be more than enough for him to get around through the final complex of corners. So lap is looking pretty good here so far through Blanchemont, coming down to the bus stop. With 25 seconds left in the session. Let's see where he ends up. And just waiting for my pit wall to update. And so far I'm not seeing an improvement, so I don't think he quite got what he was hoping for in that one. So yes, now a evening Spa picture, and goodness, isn't that just the lovely mood that evening at Spa with the lights of the garage and everything? It's just I don't know, something about those evening lights at Spa, and that's the 24-hour race, and the crews sitting there. Some of them are on the edge of their seat, and others are in their deck chair, kind of like half passed out because it's a long race.
It's a magical race, is the Spa 24. I think it's up there really for me with Le Mans 24, and I'm very lucky this year that I am going to actually be attending the Spa 24-hour race weekend, so I'm very much looking forward to that, and I'll be sure to post some of those lovely pictures on social media for you, Celine.
Yeah, that'd be really amazing to see, very much so. As well, with qualifying done, in a few moments we'll get over to the grid for a grid walk. And I'm just going to say, interestingly enough, because we did mention that Spa being a very long lap, but there's a decent amount of time for people to actually put together a few laps. We're seeing some totals of 6 and 7, but P1 and P2 with their 2:17 almost flat times, interestingly only 3 laps in that qualifying session, so just go out and get it done.
Yeah, it's always. I always think qualifying. It's a very it's a hard game, isn't it? When it comes to qualifying, especially when the laps are so long, because the out laps very long, and you don't want to mess up and go off track and cause damage and have to go in. But with the lap being so long, as I touched on earlier, it's very hard to string that perfect lap together. You've got to hold everything together for so long and push for so long to get that best lap in. But Seville doing a good time there with the 2:17, and Pendergast keeping him relatively honest, but very much the battle of the McLarens with everybody else round about a second and more back. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they all take this on this evening.
Yeah, absolutely, because obviously the real world Spa has been reprofiled after some unfortunate incidents up Eau Rouge and Raidillon on the real track. Here on the sim one, we still have the basically the flat out Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and it'll be interesting to see, does everyone manage to keep it clean? Hopefully we won't have any serious incidents or anything like that, but I can just imagine both these drivers, Jonathan Seville, Kieran Pendergast, not one to give an inch, and the race, because it's the endurance configuration, these two competitors basically start cross or get the green flag right as they're heading towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. But as we're now taking the grid walk, of course, as we mentioned, Jonathan Seville will be starting on pole next to Kieran Pendergast. Row 2, we will have Oscar Sandberg and Anders Edmondson, followed by David Oak, Miles Dixon in P6, Violet Miller, leader in the AM class in P7, followed by Henry Handy in 8th. Chris Stevenson, who is second in the AMs, in ninth place, starting next to Lucas Weiss in P10. Now, then we have Adam Gardner in P11, Jules Solberg P12, Michael Hutchinson Lucky 13, Franz Scheffler in 14th, John Shield 15, Martin Bryant 16th, Jonathan Marsh 17th, Simona Capelli in 18th, Andy Purcell 19th, Tristan Ferguson in 20th, and Carl Smith in 21st. And holding the wooden spoon for the race start this evening, unfortunately for Carl. But as we're seeing, a lot of the cars are still up on their jacks right now. Trevor's making some last-minute adjustments, possibly making some pit strategies and some minor tweaks. And I wonder what some of the strategies, especially for both for Pendergast and Seville, what they're going to do, especially with it being such a long pit lane and no quarter between them. Whereas I would almost say for the AMs, especially like Violet Miller, just given the amount of pace she has, trying to probably run it as long as possible and maybe see if she can even pull out that gap. Or with Stevenson just being a few laps behind and really thinking about protecting a championship, does he really want to go out and try and get that class win versus just, keep it smart, bring it home nice and safe, and keep that championship good and secure? So, a few storylines to play out this evening.
Yeah, nobody will want to do anything rash, will they? But everybody will want to go out on a high. So it's going to be a real tightrope walk of aggression and discipline this evening, trying to push for every advantage and every place that you can get, while making sure, like you say, you don't end the season on the low and fall off the track. Spa, I think, with it being a big lap round here, a big track, that once they get the first couple of laps under their belt, they should spread out enough and find their own battles, and there will be plenty of room out there for them to have battles without tripping over each other too much. It does offer some good overtaking spots, some good slipstreaming spots. There's at least 2 excellent slipstreaming spots, obviously the obvious ones, but it all depends how they attack the first couple of laps. I think that will have a telling tale to tell on this 60-minute race, and let's not forget the mandatory pit stop.
Absolutely, that pit stop is going to be very crucial, and because you have that full endurance length pit lane compared to say, for example, Formula One, where they let out, where there's actually the bend through the source. There's both going to be pit strategy is a big factor here, making sure you have enough fuel. Do you want to run long? Do you go for the undercut? And tires being so crucial, and grip, especially through the Rouge-Radion complex. But we're seeing some early jousting already on the parade lap, with Pendergast doing the quick takeoff and just a little pump in front of Jonathan Seville to kind of keep that rivalry, keep some of that competitiveness up, as we're seeing them do a little bit of back and forth now down Kemmel Straits. I almost wonder if it wasn't this sim rig across the UK, instead two drivers side by side, there'd be a bit of the stink eye, a few dirty looks going back and forth between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. And there we can see Violet Miller on screen there, the pole position for the AM class, and doing a really good job in that BMW in 7th place overall. So that's a fantastic qualifying result, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Having raced with Violet around Spa before, doesn't really surprise me at all to see her having quite a bit of pace and running in amongst the pro cars, and just hopefully the pro guys won't get too greedy and start making over aggressive moves. But Violet will definitely not want to be conceding too much, just because I'm sure she'll enjoy having a little bit of that buffer between herself and Stevenson this evening to hopefully. Because even though she's not in the championship picture, I'm sure she'll want to end the season on a high. Whereas Stevenson, might be eyeing up that one last class win, but at the same time, Chris is usually a pretty cool customer, so I don't think he'll necessarily want to do anything too crazy, especially if it's going to put the car at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that tightrope I was talking about earlier, isn't it? It's just walking that fine line and keeping it all in shape, keeping it in the right direction, but most of all keeping it on track and not getting tangled up and not picking up any damage. But these drivers, we've seen them week in, week out in the enduro, in the sprint. Pretty good field of drivers. We've not seen any really rash moves. We've seen some very, very good racing throughout the season, and I for one want to thank all of the drivers on the grid and the organisers of this championship, because it's been a fantastic one to follow, and it's been an absolute pleasure to stream it live for all the guys watching.
Yep, it's been great being able to commentate on these races, and obviously the magnificent camera work from yourself, Steve, and for all the viewers, thanks again for tuning in, and hopefully we'll get to see you again next season for Season 9. And remember, if you do want to get in on the Exiled Virtual Motorsports action, sign-ups are open over on simracing.gp if you'd like to try your hand at the Exiled Solo or Team Endurance Championship. But the cars are now going to be approaching the double file lineup as they're approaching the bus stop chicane. Now remember, the green flag will in fact drop not on the finishing and regular timing line on the close side of the source, but actually on the far side towards Eau Rouge and Radio. So that is going to be a little bit different for this evening. So we're just watching Seville and Pendergast make their way towards La Source. As some of you might have heard of one truly great playwright. That would be Darrell William Waltrip Shakespeare, who once said in one of his many dramatic plays, comedies and tragedies, well, hopefully this one will just be pure racing brilliance. Once more unto the boogity, dear friends, as we're approaching the timing line, and the game's flag ban isn't quite ready just yet. As we're rounding the final bend, there is the line, and that would be the green light, and we are now underway as we are seeing Jonathan Seville leading away from Karen Pendergast as they're pretty much side by side through Eau Rouge. Oscar Sandberg, I think, wants a little bit of this action up Radion. Hopefully that's not a early track cut by Karen Pendergast, as he now has the lead going down the Camel Straight for the first time. That was definitely a tense moment.
Yeah, fantastic start there from Pendergast. He really forced the position, and he got the job done, really. So it was a fantastic move from him, and he's really holding on to that lead at this moment in time.
Yeah, there's definitely, if you can get a good start, there is a certain advantage, at least on the current track configuration the game is running on, being on that side of the track, because it goes from outside to the inside up the hill. Kieran had himself perfectly positioned, as we now see Oscar Sandberg making a fairly good start as well. And everyone, I think that was the only forward change in positions. I'm not seeing anything popping up on my pit wall as it happens right now, but it does take a moment for that to refresh. But Jonathan Seville is not going to let Kieran get away, staying pretty much right on that rear wing as right now. But even though qualifying maybe wasn't quite what Oscar was hoping for, he's certainly sticking to the back of those two McLarens right now.
Yeah, absolutely pushing, and the guys and girls out there this evening have really sort of that was a really mature start, sensible start. No, I don't think there was any real contact at all, nothing to note anyway. But looks like Seville's eyeing up a move now as he's really got into the slipstream of the McLaren, but he's going to be forced wide, and he's not going to get that done there. Pendergast is far too sharp on the brakes for him to be outwitted and taken on the outside. And yeah, but Seville's showing some intent there. He definitely wants that lead back.
just a little show of the mirrors, or in the mirrors at the moment there. I don't think Seville's going to feel particularly pressured to make a move right now. Looks like there was a early move. Truls Solberg having a really good start, managing to make it all the way up to P9, having started a little further back, but that being said, the AM class is now pretty much nose to tail, with Violet Miller being chased by Chris Stevenson, although that fight is still going to have 57 minutes to shake out there. But as things stand, I think the pro guys are really going to want to have their own race and get themselves sorted out, whereas the AM battle is not so much just about race win, but it's really necessary for Chris Stevenson to have a good finish to make sure that he isn't being caught, versus maybe going for a little bit of that glory might be a little bit rash. But we shall see how that pans out. And well, these two, I mean, just like, especially being a second ahead of everyone else in qualifying. I mean, the two aliens lead the way. I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like they're going to, as we would have probably expected, they're making a little bit of a break. Oscar Sandberg doing his best and absolutely really pushing the BMW in third place at the moment, and then I think in vain trying to keep up with these two guys, these two McLarens, the drivers that just seem to be on a different level. And when we used to see Seville setting the track alight, and we have seen him, he's been pushed hard in some of these races and he hasn't had it all his own way, and it's really good when a driver of Seville's standard is challenged, because it really does make some great racing. And when they're in the same car as well, there's both McLarens obviously, there's no car advantage to be had anywhere. This is a battle of the drivers, this is down to skill level, and it's going to be a good one, and I don't think it's going to play out very quickly. I think we could be in for a long battle here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be very much the game of just a few inches here and there. So as we're now on board with the number 500 car, Violet Miller, with Chris Stevenson hot on her rear wing at the moment, although it's going to be an interesting battle of racecraft going on between the two of them as well. So both the lead of the Pro class, lead of the AM class, very close, although even closer would be Michael Hutchinson in the 32, right behind, I believe that's Gardner. Hopefully that's not a track cut for Hutchinson. One thing to remember, especially with these GT3 cars, although they're not quite as sensitive as the previous generation of Formula One cars, you do have to be careful, because these, especially the more aerodynamic dependent GT3 cars, they can be upset by a little bit of air wash. So you do have to be careful, especially in some of those high speeds like the Rouge and Radion, that you don't start running afoul of the track limits, because it's very easy to do when that's up that hill, just because it's so easy for the air to get a little disturbed and you just push ever so slightly too wide.
Yeah, absolutely. But we saw there, it was Hutchinson, I think, was it, when he came up through Rouge, the car in front just had to lift ever so slightly and caused him to check up a little bit, and that just spoiled his run. He was in prime position for getting a good slipstream, but just having to back out of the throttle just messed it up for another lap. But he'll sit there, and he's keeping Gardner honest ahead of him, and he's within half a second of him. As we see that Seville is not letting Pendergast go, and Handy is he's just had he was closer. He's just dropped off the back of Solberg a little bit now, and Solberg's just finding his own bit of space and moving away from him. But back at the front, still battling away, and as we said, Slyn, this isn't going to go away anytime soon. Seville, we've seen him, he's a real calculating driver, and Prendergast is not afraid of a bit of pressure. He knows how to soak it up. We've seen him absorb pressure, we've seen him apply pressure. Two great races. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, very much so. Seville being very calm, very calculating, and thinking of strategy, whereas Prendergast is just kind of very much willing to scrap in virtually any race. And if any of you've tuned into his live stream, he's got quite the poker face or game face, focus face, whatever you want to call it. You know, when he's on, you can just we can just see it in his eyes that he's very, very focused as we watching the close battle between David Oak, Joel Solberg, and I believe Lucas Weiss, as there's been traded positions with Weiss and Solberg, I think, getting ahead of Oak. I think wouldn't be surprised if for that kind of position change, perhaps David made a bit of a mistake. As Prendergast is off a little bit as Seville's pressuring him now. Maybe there was Seville had a really good run up Rouge and now is really trying to put the pressure on. But Prendergast not conceding that there. I don't know that with that little slight off track, I suppose maybe if Jonathan is feeling a little bit aggrieved, the stewards might have a look at that, but I don't think Jonathan's very much thinking all's fair in love, war, and racing, so he'll want to definitely get that done on track and not have that in the stewards' room. I'm sure Kieran and Jonathan are absolutely loving this battle going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a defence off track. He saved the position, but I mean, like I say, at the end of the day, these two have got great respect for each other, and I think Seville will want to pass him on track regardless. He'll have that in the back of his mind, but what'll be more appealing, what'll spur Seville on a bit more, is that he forced that mistake out of Prendergast, he made it due to the pressure that Seville was putting him under. He got a fantastic slipstream and he had to go in deep on the brakes to defend. He left the door open for Seville to just poke his nose in, and Seville didn't need a second invitation. He really went for it. But yeah, interesting at the moment. He's just dropped back a little bit as Seville now. He's around about 4/10 back, but he's still very much in the slipstream. We're going to see him close right up again now, I suspect, in the braking zone, and he does indeed, and he's going to be setting it up again for another go down the Camel Straight, I think, and potentially put Prendergast under that bit more pressure again.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is definitely going to be a battle of getting in the opponent's head and generating a mistake. But as we're seeing now with Martin Bryant getting very close to, I believe, that's Chris Stevenson's car, I believe so, patched also by Michael Hutchinson. I wonder if something kicked off in the midfield, because I noticed the 24 car of Joel Solberg has dropped back quite a ways. I wonder if perhaps there was somebody had a bit of drama, maybe there was a spin somewhere. I don't see any obvious damage right now, so possibly Fools maybe just took a little bit too much curb somewhere and a bunch of people had to take avoiding action, causing a slight position shuffle. But yeah, now we've got BMW train nose to tail heading down the Kemmel Straight, and we'll see if yeah, there's some drivers going defensive, some maybe going to try and hang it around the outside, and looks like Stevenson might have overcooked it. Oh, steady on, guys, let's not have some contact.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there, but they've not unsettled each other too much, and this is a great battle as well, just absolutely really hammer and tong, and just to keep everybody up to date, I am watching on my other screen, I'm watching Seville and Prendergast. There's no change there. Seville didn't manage to put Prendergast under too much pressure on that last time around down Camel Straight, so it's all as they were in this battle here. Look at that, he's off the track, he's gone off Bryant onto the grass and he's lost it, and that's going to have picked up some damage, but more importantly at this moment in time, that's just lost him 3 positions straight away.
Yeah, a few of the cars were all trying to go through No Name at the same time, and unfortunately somebody's going to have a little bit of a stumble, and it looks like Bryant was the unfortunate one who lost out the most at this point. And yeah, just unfortunate, as I think I can't remember off the top of my head, and we don't have, unfortunately, I don't have my mathematician and statistician Aaron here this evening to let me know if it was Bryant. I believe it was Bryant who is kind of the one person who can catch Stevenson for the championship, but that's still going to have to be added up because we also have the points for the Enduro to be added on for the overall championship winners. So the decision isn't fully made just yet. So after the stewards have a look at everything post race and the results are combined and added up, we'll see who eventually ends up being the champion. And I got a quick look at the hardware on offer. So whoever wins the championship for this season 8, they're going to have some nice hardware to put over their fireplace or on the mantelpiece in a display cabinet or what have you, or even just something to drink beer out of instead of having to do your racing boot.
a little bit more hygienic maybe, as little Danny Rick boot trick. Yeah, good to see though. This is, I mean, Pendergast really absorbing the pressure now, and Seville's really applying the pressure. And two great racers, and they're really, you know, exploring all the avenues of attack and defence, all on the same piece of tarmac here. And Pendergast not really having to defend too much at this moment in time. Seville's still there, he's applying the pressure, but he's not really close enough to make a move. But he's certainly there, close enough to keep that pressure on and maybe force another characteristic mistake from Pendergast.
And just to give the viewers some perspective here, so the qualifying times for these two was basically 2:17 flat, and because it's only an hour race and there is a fuel stop required and possibly tires, as we're now following Truls Solberg, who's trying to regain some positions after I'm guessing a little, possibly a spin or a bit of drama or contact. The two leading cars are only about 6/10 off of their qualifying time right now, and this is in the race when they're going to be carrying a lot more fuel. So I'm assuming these two, they probably are not going to do a tire change because they're so close to each other, and they're not going to want to concede that 5 seconds. But as of right now, their times have been very low 218s or mid to high, very low 218s or mid to high 217s, and that's almost at their quality pace. Whereas a lot of the cars behind them, they are struggling to get into the high 218s. Most of them are doing 219s or very low 220s, which is just mind-boggling, at least to me, because that's just like that. A 217 would be an absolute dream lap for me, but I think yeah, these two in the lead are just rattling them off like no big deal. Just another Tuesday night at Spa.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes a great racer, isn't it? It's that consistency to be able to just be able to put one hot lap in, but to be able to repeat that same lap many times, and these guys can, and much to the frustration probably of everybody trying to chase them. You know, they don't make mistakes very often, and more importantly, they manage to pretty much put the similar lap times in every single time within certainly within a couple of tenths of their best lap all the time. So it's really good to see, and yeah, I totally agree with you, saying that I don't think they'll change their tyres. There'll be no need to change the tyres. One man who has been in the pit is Brian. After we saw him make contact with the barrier, he's got his mandatory pit stop out of the way now, so he's clear to race to the end. He will have fueled up, and he will go to the end of the race now, as obviously the pit window is open, and it's you know, they're free to make their pit stops now. But what that's done for Brian is he's already now been lapped, and he's dropped back into the pack. So potentially any pace he's got, he may get stifled as he's been swallowed by the midfield and being put a lap down.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate for Brian, who's made his pit stop, but now he's going to have to contend with traffic, although there is a possibility that some people will try for the undercut, and he may find himself with some clean air, which he's desperately going to want now, as we're moving up to the 9th position with Violet Miller, who's currently getting a pretty decent amount of draft from Henry Handy, and who's not quite the last of the pro category, because Truls Solberg unfortunately fell down 16th, but the last of the pro pack. And I think, as things stand right now, with Chris Stevenson being down in 12th place, P4 overall in the AM class, Violet's going to actually be enjoying this, because she doesn't necessarily have to make any moves on Henry Handy, but actually just use him for some slipstream, maybe save some fuel, run it a little bit long, save the tires, and because there is I believe there is still the fixed pit stop time of you need to be static for at least 25 seconds, she can kind of relax, save the car a little bit, and not necessarily have to do much, although taking the inside line there to perhaps fill one of Henry's mirrors, maybe she's looking for a little bit of bragging rights this evening.
Yeah, absolutely, and to be fair as well, if you're in a rhythm and you're on the pace, it's sometimes easier just to push at that pace, and if that pace is faster than the car in front, so be it. Get that position off him. You know, Andy's he's not a slow driver by any means. He seems to just about have the measure of Miller at the moment. The gap does keep concertinaing out a little bit, but yeah, Miller does look strong in some sectors of this lap compared to Andy. So he's probably got one eye looking over his shoulder at the moment. One man who certainly has got one eye looking over his shoulder is Prendergast in that lead place. He's looking very much forward, but also keeping a little bit of a conscious eye on Seville behind him. Seville not really close enough to do a lot at the moment, but he is very much in the slipstream, so he's keeping in touch and he's not letting Prendergast get away at all, and he's keeping him within striking distance.
Mm-hmm. For sure, Kieran is definitely currently holding off on, or holding his nerve very well right now, with Seville being all over him. There was that one small error, but other than that, you know, he's been doing quite well. It looks like Henry Handy's overcooked it, and he's going to have to concede that position. Otherwise, he runs the risk of having an unsafe rejoin on that bus stop. And with it being still a long race to go and not really losing a position in the class battle, he decides to just back out of that reset, get back into the rhythm, and keep that car in good condition to keep going on in that fight for the next 41 minutes that we still have remaining.
Yeah, and that was another good move from Miller, really. She definitely put him under pressure and forced him into the mistake that was to brake too late into the final chicane, and he just ran deep, and like you say, he had to be very careful how he rejoined. But someone who's putting pressure on now, it's looking like Marsh is putting some serious pressure on the Aston Martin of Chael in front, and looking to try and get that position. Very, very defensive from the Aston Martin, trying to cover the inside, going to make that BMW go all the way around the outside, and that's not an impossible task, but on this occasion the BMW has been a little bit cautious, I would say there, and just braked a little bit early to pull it all back into line, and just follow the Aston Martin and keep applying the pressure.
Yeah, that's because of that, the way that complex works out, the outside can quickly become the inside, so you can definitely, the driver who's leading down the Camel Straight can go defensive into that first right-hander, but if the trailing driver who's forced around the outside, they can potentially, if they hold it long enough, they can find themselves on the inside very shortly, as that BMW all over the back of the Aston as they're going through the past Buana and through the Stavelos now. It would seem that slightly newer, slightly more refined aero package on that BMW compared to the Aston Martin is just it's giving Michael Hutchinson really perhaps a slight edge over Chael at the moment, or sorry, Gardner at the moment. I do apologize for that, but yeah, very much nose to tail here for the AM class as well, giving us some riveting battles.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that I thought there was a bit of contact there, so nearly got a little bit overexcited. But again, BMW just forcing Gardner, went a little bit deeper. No, he did come back on and he tried to defend the position from an impossible position, as it were, and made a little bit of contact. But Hutchinson's gone through there. Gardner loses and drops down to 11th place there, and yeah, a little bit. I don't know. It was a lost cause almost that he was trying to defend there from where he was on the track.
Yeah, at that point, you pretty much have to concede. There's not really a way to defend it, and as we saw there, Hutchinson was going through as they clattered some wheel arches there. Hopefully, nobody's got any serious damage. It's just a little paint scrape, but nothing's going to affect anyone's races terribly. But back out at the front, Seville still all over the back of Kieran Prendergast, and interestingly, may I just say, these two. Very much the nose-to-tail pursuit, and for those who are perhaps acutely aware of some of the driving characteristics of these cars here in Exiled Competizione, or perhaps, and an interesting factoid for those who are maybe not aware, the McLaren is known as being one of the better sprint cars, but one thing that I should say which really showcases the talent of these two drivers is you really need to be on point with your braking. with the McLaren. It's not one that's particularly kind. If you try to trail it, use the brake pedal a little too aggressively, go in with too much brake pressure and don't trail properly, or on the other hand, if you don't trail enough, it's easy to overcook it. So this is definitely one of those cars that's really showing off the driving talent of these two drivers, compared to, say, the BMW, which is there's a lot of in this field, as it's almost a BMW parade. That car has actually a very good ABS system and is actually really good under brakes. So interesting that some of the cars that are making some of the best dives are the BMW right now, but the Aston Martin, which is known to have a little bit of a heavy front end, maybe having a few struggles and overcooking it a little bit into that bus stop, whereas well, these two are just putting on an absolute clinic.
Yeah, absolutely precision driving. We've seen a couple more drivers, Cheehan and Chauvelin, have made their pit stops now, and they're clear to run to the end of the race. So a couple of the drivers now, that's 3 drivers, have made their pit stops. We know Bryant was definitely involved in an incident, so he's probably gone in to maybe just repair some damage. So he's running down in P21 at the moment, but I'm sure he may make up some positions as the rest of the field pit. We see Gardner in that P13 that we saw that little bit of an incident just a couple of moments ago. He's now in the pits and taking his mandatory pit stop. As Capelli also enters the pit lane.
Yeah, for some of these drivers, they're maybe finding that they're either getting held up, not being able to push quite the way they want to, so they're going to go take their fuel now and hopefully find some clear air for themselves. Some of them might decide that the extra 5 seconds of doing the tire change is worth it, especially if they're looking to gain some pace, especially for nearby rivals who maybe aren't changing and hoping to keep track position. But things stand right now, and especially with Gardner having that slight tap, there's a chance that perhaps he's going to want to make sure that there's no lasting damage or damage that's going to affect the performance of that Aston Martin. But yes, some people are starting to take pit stops. We're seeing a few cars advance up the field, at least temporarily now, with the pit stops starting to cycle through. But surprisingly enough, following Oscar Sandberg in P3, being 10 seconds back.
Yeah, absolutely. And just apologies to anybody watching the stream. I've just noticed that the data dropped out for a split second there and the stream froze, but it's all working, it's all back up and good, so I'm not quite sure what that was. Just the internet gremlins, I think, there, so apologies, and you haven't really missed anything at the moment. We're not quite sure how long it was frozen for there.
Yeah, we might have, for the Star Wars fans out there, we might have had a Minoc chewing on the cables. Don't at us. And hopefully we won't receive a cease and desist from Disney after just making that reference. But
living life on the edge, Celine. Living life on the edge with those comments. Very much so. And who knows? We might even get a nasty letter from Daryl Waltrip himself with all of my creative ways of inserting Boogedy into the race start. But or who knows? He might be flattered, in which. Either way, at least we're getting noticed. But one thing definitely to notice is the leaders now still battling very much nose to tail, but starting to encounter traffic, and that, as we all know, with the nature of Spa, it can definitely play a role. Traffic was most definitely a role in the 24 hours last year. Obviously, that was a little bit of an extreme case because the skies opened up, the rain came flooding down, and there was something that looked more akin to a rugby scrum at the bus stop, although usually there aren't that many loose car parts during the rugby scrum. Maybe a loose ear at most, but definitely not a front splitter, some wheels, and other bits of carbon fiber bodywork. So whoever is in that Aston, brace yourselves. The leaders are coming through. So I'm sure they'll probably want to make a dive out of the way as soon as those two get closer. Pendergast into the pits. Well, then that was certainly not expected.
So that leaves Seville out in some, well, not clear air, as he's going to have lap traffic to contend with, but Pendergast making that decision now to take that pit stop and not even let traffic play a factor, at least in his race, or I'm assuming that's what he's hoping. Is now up Jean Radion, following Jonathan Phil as he is following. I'm looking at my timing screen to see if I can figure out who that is. I believe that is either Cheel or Gardner. I'm not sure which one of them that is. Obviously, with identical liveries, it's a lot harder to tell. But a little bit of a loose rear end moment there for Seville, and Pendergast holding the fastest lap, oddly enough, is now in P6, as he should be released here in just a few moments. Interesting to see if he decides to take that extra 5 seconds in the pit lane for a tire change or not, but hopefully we're not seeing a little bit of technical difficulties there. We do apologize for that. Now believe we're back to live pictures following Jonathan Spills through the Stavalos and approaching down to Blanchemont here in just a few moments.
Yeah, just wanted to show you what happened to Trullis early on in the race. Sorry about the camera flicking there. We just seemed to lose it there. Look, it flicked off, and yeah, that's what happened to him in the early part of the race.
Yeah, just unfortunately that is something that can happen with the BMW if you get a little bit too much lateral load there on the back. Unfortunately, that BMW can pirouette on you if you just get a little bit too much lateral loads going through the rear of that car, especially if you are trying to perhaps run a little bit less rear downforce in the hopes of getting some top line speed. So yeah, unfortunately just some bad luck for Troll Solberg there, but Kieran Pendergast has been released from the pits. He's done his mandatory stop and is going to be exiting in P11, as Jonathan Seville has now decided that he's going to respond on the next lap and take his pit stop along with Anders Emerson is in the pits, Lucas Weiss, David Oak. A lot of them are diving into the pits right now to serve their mandatory pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. Did Pendergast make the right call and dive for the undercut, or did Seville put in an absolutely cracking lap now that he's not having to chase Pendergast, and perhaps maybe making that perfect in-lap and possibly getting out ahead of Pendergast, although it looks like Seville's just pulling into his pit box now with Pendergast coming through Blanchemont, and I would guess that Kieran is just going to get past. Because remember, the exit is at the top of Radion, because it is the endurance pit lane. It is not the Formula 1 pit lane that exits just past the source. So we shall see how this shakes up here in just a moment. A few more cars pulling in to take their stops now as Pendergast crosses the timing line and through the source. And Seville is down off the jacks and pulling out in pit lane. Remember, you don't want to immediately start accelerating right away. You've got that pit speed limiter to think of, and he's just popped past that now. Pendergast coming up the hill, and I believe Seville is just at the exit of the lane, and he's just managed to hold on to that, but Pendergast just having that little bit of extra speed with being on the racetrack versus the pit lane. The pit positions are pretty much net where they were when the pit stop cycle happened, but as of right now, Oscar Sandberg is in the lead, deciding to play the overcut strategy, and in P2, the M-Class leader Violet Miller deciding to run long as of right now. The only other M to run long at this point would be Andy Purcell, but we also have Henry and Full Solberg. Andy in P3, Full Solberg in P4 right now, going going for the overcut as we see, I believe that was Violet Miller entering the pit lane, deciding to take her stop now. Yep, there's the E next to her name, so Violet taking her stop at this point. Almost all the other AMs have decided to box in. It looks like Ferguson's in, and the only one left to take a pit stop in the AM class will be Andy Purcell, who I am assuming is going to take that fairly quickly, especially if, unless he has clear air at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. The pit stops are all pretty much played out now. We're almost bang on half race distance. Everybody's more or less gone in. We've just got those currently the top 5 cars at the moment. We see Sandberg here just circulating around in what is first place at the moment. When he goes in for that pit stop, we'll see him drop down the order a little bit. Henry Handy in second place. Miller still showing us in second, but I'm sure that's going to change once the leaderboard refreshes. She's doing a great job, as you see there, just dropping down the order a little bit. She's doing a great job though, Miller, holding on to that AM class lead at the moment, and I'm sure even when Purcell does say he finishes his pit, I think that gap will be back out at whatever it was it around about 5 or 6 seconds, absolutely.
Yeah, I believe so. I think with just because of the time change, Andy, I think might have decided to do most or one more lap, and I think we're going to see Violet the P disappear and the amber one turn green as speak of the devil. So she will most likely go back out pretty close to where she was prior, and I think we're probably going to see Andy Purcell drop back a little bit now as we're chasing the net lead, or following the net leaders now. It looks like Pendergast has opened a little bit of a gap between him and Seville, so Kieran will want to be trying his best to maintain that composure, keep that gap open as much as possible, and we'll see how things play out, or if Seville's perhaps able to reel him back in. But all things considering, I don't think either of these two change tires. They're both exceedingly strong drivers. I don't imagine that either of them would have wanted to risk conceding that track position and hope that one could catch the other on a fresh set of boots.
Yeah, I think Prendergast, obviously, he pitted a little bit earlier than Seville, and I think when Seville came out of the pits, Prendergast was very much up to speed, and maybe Seville's first outlaps just cost him a little bit of time, and that's because it is the biggest gap we have seen all race long, at a second and a half between these two guys at the moment. So yeah, maybe just Prendergast got back up to speed and did a fantastic job of his outlap. Maybe there was a little bit of a delay in the pit stop for Seville, maybe he lost time in pit lane, who knows. You can gain a lot and lose a lot depending where you hit that pit limiter and how accurate you are getting into that pit box, because if you miss your marks ever so slightly, you do have to adjust your position. You know, sometimes you see cars reversing, and that it can cost them 3, 4 and 5 seconds on the pit stop, but not suggesting for 1 second that's what happened to Seville. I don't think it did. It's just a case of I think Pendergast had a good outlap, and he's just gaining that bit of breathing space, which is 1.6 seconds. That's an awesome job from him, and he'll be very happy with that at the moment. With 23 minutes left to go, it's the most comfortable he's been all race.
Yeah, definitely a nice safety margin for Pendergast right now. And as you were saying, you know, even the tiniest little thing, you know, did you miss your pit box by like the tiniest of margins, or even Pendergast just making that pit stop early, being the one in control of that situation to have his tires switched on and ready to go. Could be any number of things. We're seeing now Miles Dixon chase down Lucas Weiss going defensive here through the Lake Holm complex, and yeah, just although Dixon right up on the back of Weiss, Weiss managing to hold it fairly defensively right now through the process hairpin, and of course the Constantina effect with gap going in and out slightly based on speeds and everything, but through No Name pretty much as they were, and and we'll see if Dixon perhaps is able to make the move later in the lap, perhaps around Blanchemont with getting a lot of slipstream, or perhaps being the later of the late breakers going into the bus stop chicane. But we'll see how that plays out now as they're entering the Stavelots. Oh, looks like a little bit of a unsettled moment there for Dixon, as it seems like he's dropped back a little bit. So perhaps the car just getting a little bit unsettled while trying to push for position.
Yeah, absolutely. It can often be the case that when you're pushing so hard, you just unsettle that car, you just make the slightest of mistakes or misjudgments, and it does cost you a little bit of time. When you're running around within a tenth or two of the car in front, a little bit of time is only a tenth or two that you need to lose, so it's the smallest of margins we're talking about. But here we have Hutchinson. This is a BMW battle with Hutchinson and Stevenson, as Hutchinson's looking to get that final top 10 position at the moment, and definitely pushing hard now and in the slipstream and looking to potentially make a move. But Stevenson's gone very defensive and he's going to make Hutchinson go around the outside, but he's not close enough yet. Unfortunately, further down the leaderboard we see Ferguson with a drive-through penalty. I'm guessing that will be for track limits, I think. So he's possibly cut the track 3 times, and on the 4th one you get a drive-through. So I think that's probably what's happened to Ferguson.
Yeah, as we were watching this battle here, Stevenson perhaps on that defensive line, overcooking it a little bit into the bus stop, but not quite as much as some of the others have earlier, managing to keep the car in defensive position and not go completely off the track, so able to hold out at least for the time being. But it seems Hutchinson very much has that run, and I'm not sure exactly what the point scores are, so I don't know how fiercely Stevenson wants to defend this, especially since he's got that AM title to be looking out for. As it looks like Hutchinson's just got the space now, and the change from outside to inside and back outside again. Oh, steady on. Although it's as we've said a number of times, even though it is the AM class tag, these drivers most certainly not AM level. It's I would say it's very much what we would consider silver level with a lot of these, if not all of these, AM class drivers here in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. What a battle this is. I mean, Hutchinson is really trying, and he's definitely very, very close here, and it's not over by a long way. It's another one of those battles where they're in equal machinery, and it's all down to driver skill and racecraft. So, Hutchinson just being forced wide again, and he's having a hard time. Stevenson's making him work, and he said if he wants that position, he's going to have to work very hard for it, and ultimately he's either going to have to prise the door open on the inside or go the long way around the outside. And he's lining himself up now. He's just pulled out the draft ever so slightly. He's got a little bit of overspeed, and he's potentially just dropped back into the slipstream now. We'll see probably Stevenson hugging that right hand side, and he does, but he moves back across very early, to be fair. So yeah, I was surprised Hutchinson really wasn't in a position to put him under pressure in the braking zone there. Maybe Stevenson's got the measure of Hutchinson in that braking zone.
Yeah, it's as things stand right now, Stevenson having to go very defensive, so it's going to be hard for him to actually showcase any pace he might have over Hutchinson at this point, just because he's having to go so defensive to keep Hutchinson behind. But as we're seeing Hutchinson very, very much trying to keep the racing line and open up the corners as much as he possibly can. But it looks like the two of them are going to go side by side through Rouge and up Radillon. Not quite, although it looks like Stevenson's gone and possibly earned himself an off-track warning there, or if not, having to lift. So that makes him very vulnerable down the Camel Straight, and with a big BMW punching a hole in the air for another M4, which is such a strong aerodynamic package given the design of the car. Yeah, this battle isn't going to end anytime soon, with the two of them very much racing nose to tail and trying to very much outwit each other. Even though it is similar machinery, they're going to have similar advantages as far as the car, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hutchinson is eventually able to find a way, if he's able to use all of the track the way he wants to and constantly forcing Stevenson into a defensive position.
Yeah, and Seville, just on other news right now, Seville's reeling Pendergast in. He's got that gap down to less than a second. He's got his McLaren back up onto pace, and what's more important is that pace is ever so slightly, and it is only slightly faster than Pendergast ahead of him. But he's pulled back a second altogether now to get within 7/10 of Pendergast, and actually.
And there's a little bit of contact as Hutchinson tries to make it up the inside of Stevenson. Unfortunately. Yeah, it's eventually, unfortunately, racing just you start gaining the point, trying to force the overtake, and doing a little bit of door clattering, and well, unfortunately, just with the lateral loads of Spa there, the car just loses some grip and goes around. So Stevenson manages to hold on to that position and fight another day, as we were mentioning Seville earlier, puts in the new race fastest lap of a 2:17.555. For any of you who remember your rallying, if you remember the 555 rally car, that's a number that's synonymous with good performances and good luck. So Seville slowly reeling in Pendergast, as the gap does fluctuate a little bit as we go through the different parts of the track, but Jonathan Seville opening the taps a little bit more and trying to perhaps get that final win in the final race of the season.
Yeah, what a way to go out, and I think he'll very much want to do that, Will Seville. He's been calculating all season to just do the best he can, and he knows when to push, when not to push, but who doesn't want to win the last race of the season and potentially clinch the championship with a victory? It's all well and good doing the maths and seeing where you finish up and knowing what points you need to score, but they're always racing for that top step of the podium, whatever the connotations of the championship are, I believe, and Seville is showing that he's got the pace on Pendergast. He's got enough pace to catch him, but has he got enough pace to get past him? We know how hard Pendergast can defend, and we know how well he can defend, so it's going to be interesting. We've only really seen Seville put Pendergast under enough pressure to force a mistake once, and he couldn't capitalise on that, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the last 15 minutes now, as they're just coming around to complete another lap.
Yep, and that gap down to about 4/10 now. It's going to be interesting. Would this be? I'm assuming this is going to be Seville opening the taps up nice and wide to try and wheel Pendergast in. Although there is the possibility. I'm not sure. We'll have to ask them possibly, but yeah. I would almost wonder if Pendergast maybe decided to back it off a little bit, because he knows he can defend fairly well. If he decided that he was going to back it off a little bit to save the tires, although it looks like Seville's got one heck of a run now. I wonder if Pendergast is finding himself in a little bit of a spot of bother, as it looks like Seville's going to have to run around the outside. So going side by side, a little bit of drift from the 105 car as they go through the Lake Home section and now down towards the Brussels hairpin. They're now basically splitter to diffuser, as Pendergast is defensive, and no, I'm almost beginning to wonder if they're wanting to give us one last show before the season ends. I mean, this is certainly heating up.
Yeah, Seville definitely had his nose in front at the last sector, because it's put him in the lead there, as you can see on the timing tower. That's going to correct itself in a few seconds when they cross the next line. But definitely Seville, his intentions are known now. He wants that win, he's wanting to go, and he's really applying the pressure now. And Pendergast soaking it up, and I have to say, at the end of the Camel Straight, that was a fantastic defence from the number one turn one driver there. He really did hang on to that position by the skin of his teeth, but we said fantastic driving, and we saw him full drift. But I think he's going to have to pull out some more driving of that calibre on the next few laps.
Yep, as we're seeing both the leading two cars heading through the Blanchemont run, and Seville's going to have one heck of a slipstream going through all of this. It's just nose to tail. That's probably over 250 kph. Pendergast a little bit defensive and Seville around the outside, but nothing doing quite there. So at this point, with drivers of this skill level, you're really having to think about multiple moves ahead, like the high-level chess players. You can't be thinking about go for the move now, go for the move now. You have to be really thinking a number of moves, a number of corners ahead. And I think, unless there's something changes drastically, I think Seville is going to try and make that move at the towards the end of the Camel Straight, assuming he can have a good run on Pendergast up Eau Rouge and Radwan.
He does seem to get a better run up through Eau Rouge, doesn't he? He almost drops back on the start line bit as they drop down to Eau Rouge, and he gets a better run, but he's not got it this time. It's too late into the braking zone. He's going to get alongside, but he's not as close as he was on the previous lap, and he's just going to have to fall back in there. That was a relatively easy defence from Pendergast, although Seville's still pushing, still nibbling away, still looking for inside, outside, any which way I can get alongside you. He wants to be there. He wants to be alongside that fellow McLaren ahead, and Pendergast just making a little bit of a mistake there, catching a little bit of grass, which Seville had to just check up behind him, but he's within thousandths of a second here. These two doesn't get any closer than this.
Yeah, these two definitely going to be jousting it out for the last 11 minutes here of this race as they go through the Poulan section. Yeah, I'm be interesting to see if just with again the aerodynamic dependencies of these cars, if Seville is having like the wheel is replicating the effect of the buffeting that you would get from following another car that closely, or if feedback's being fairly smooth, although tucked in the slipstream like that, maybe it would be perhaps a dampening the feedback. I'm not sure. I know for myself with the BMW it's a little bit different, but compared to what the McLaren drivers would be feeling. But yes, right now Pendergast in the lead, very much so, and Seville taking another look into the bus stop and pulling alongside, but again not quite enough doing there, as Pendergast seems to just be stronger in this section of the track, and Seville will probably try and set up that move towards the end of the Camel Straight again.
Yeah, he's definitely forced. Oh, he's done. He's dived down the inside, but he's going to. Pendergast gets the cut back there, and yeah, Seville's went for that move early, but he couldn't get it stopped and turned in time to sort of park it on the apex and block the move. And he's I don't think he's going to be close enough this time now to attack down the Camel Straight. And let's not forget these are fairly long laps, so with under 10 minutes left to go, there's literally probably 4 or 5 laps left of this race. So that's probably a handful of opportunities if Seville can get that gap closed back down again and get within that magical 10th of the car in front and really put him under pressure. But that was an interesting move. It sort of came from nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, that's. I'm beginning to think that that's probably going to be the move that does it. Is if Seville wants to get a move done on Pendergast, this might have to be the move that Pendergast isn't expecting, and so we'll try to do that cheeky lunge through the source. But obviously, Pendergast with his pace and talent level, he's not going to let that one stand. He's just going to stick to his lines, hit the apex, have a good exit, and leaving Seville unfortunately going to have to overcook it and not going to be able to make that pass stand. So although I will say from very much from the race I had in the Women's Championship on Monday night, catching a car in a position where they're not expecting the pass to be done, that's can often be where you would expect it. That race was at Paul Ricard. Everyone often expects that the overtakes will happen either in the straight line at the down the Mistral Straight, or the multi right-hander after that. Somebody maybe getting a lot more slipstream, but some of the best moves, at least at that track, are somebody who can manage to get the pass done on maybe some of the slower corners or a better exit. That's something like that. So it's, the drivers are alongside again through the bus stop, although no positional change, as the two of them have been running that through that chicane pretty close to side by side a couple of times now through this race. So neither of them is going to be particularly rattled or necessarily going to make a fantastic move stick, though. Although it looks like Seville's definitely had the much better exit. He's practically bump drafting Pendergast up Rouge at this and Radion at this point. Although they do separate a little bit, I think Seville might have to have backed out ever so slightly there because that looked a little bit wide. Unless he's not carrying any warnings, and he's potentially going to just burn one of his warnings in the hopes of getting a run, although it doesn't look like he's going to do that. So I'm going to guess that he would have lifted slightly to make sure he doesn't get that track cut.
Yeah, well, he's all over the back of Pendergast now, isn't he? Again, he's got within, you know, that magical touch in the car in front distance. We've seen, like you say, he was almost bump drafting a few moments ago, and Seville certainly knows how to drive tight and how to drive close, and he's doing that very much. And he's looking everywhere around, but credit to Pendergast here, he's soaking up this pressure and he's not making the mistake as yet. He's managing to drive his lines. He's managing, you know, where he has to defend, he's defending, and he's keeping that position. And we have seen a handful of opportunities not wasted, but Pendergast defended against them when we almost thought there were a certain overtake, and he's managed to you know, save the position. And Seville, I think, will be up there. These two guys will absolutely be loving this battle. Maybe Pendergast is feeling sweating a little bit under the collar right now, but I think he'll look back on this race and really, whatever the outcome, he's going to have enjoyed this one.
Yeah, these two, even though they're, I'm sure Pendergast is getting a little sweaty from this defense, but I'm sure Seville is equally carrying an equally moist racing garb, because you know, he's going to be working up quite the sweat to be able to try and make that move and get it to stick. So knowing any racer who's really passionate about it, they love these kinds of you know, nose to tail battles. They're not going to want to have a boring race and just kind of cruise off, whereas, you know, having this wheel to wheel action, so long as it doesn't end up in a contact, fingers crossed, and knocking on wood there, it's you know, this battle continues you know, nice and clean to the end, although it looks like side by side a little bit earlier down the Camel Straight, so nobody's going to have a slipstream advantage here. But right now Pendergast has the inside, so he'll have that inside for the first turn, and will Seville be able to hold it around the outside? Oh, a little bit of an off, and oh, contact. They're both going to have a little bit of a touch. It looked like an unfortunate case of going over the speed humps a little bit awkwardly, as Seville had overcooked it into the Lake, not Lake I'm getting myself all turned around. Doesn't matter, it's the cars are now at their going through No Name, but both cars, you know, having the slight contact, but I don't imagine that's going to be any serious damage for either of them. So they'll be right back to it here in just a few moments, when I'm sure Seville will catch right back up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at Solberg, he's coming back up through the field, still into that P10 at the moment, and trying to close in on P9 and gain another position. But sorry, he's in P9 now. Sorry, so he's got that job done. The timing tower's just refreshed, so he's had a good climb back. Probably disappointed with the race on the whole, but he was battling early on, and we saw in the replay that it was sort of lap 3 or 4, I think it was, where he went off and just turned it around, and I think he lost it under his own steam, just lost the back end. Yeah, it's been a fight back from him. So he's had better races, but he's done well to keep going, and he's done that. But back up at the front at the moment, it's looking like, with literally 2 laps probably left to go, Pendergast is pretty safe with a 1.5 second gap, unless Seville can really pull some hot laps out of the bag now.
Yeah, I think at this point I wouldn't be surprised with that contact. It's not going to spook these two too terribly, but I wouldn't be surprised if at this point, unless there's a mistake by Pendergast or something like that, or Seville manages to pull out yet another bit of reserve. I wouldn't be surprised if these two are just going to be running as they are for the rest of the race, with basically what's going to be 2 laps left. These two have had their fun, and when it led to contact, at this point they're probably just, especially Jonathan Seville, thinking, second place points is definitely more than enough to probably secure that solo championship. Although I know the team does come into effect somewhat, but I have a feeling that Seville's dominant performances have been more than enough this season to win another Pro Class Exile Championship.
Yeah, for sure. But I think for me, the driver of the race tonight, it's got to be Pendergast. I mean, he took the lead. He didn't get pole position, but by the smallest of margins, he was in P2. He took the lead when the lights went green. He got that McLaren where he needed to get it to get that lead. And he's come under a lot of pressure, but he's driven so consistently and so well, and he's defended so well. He's done what he needs to do, and I can't emphasise enough how hard it is to keep a driver like Jonathan Seville behind you. He's quick, he's consistent, and he's very calculated. He will watch lap after lap where he needs to make a move, and he's kept Pendergast under a lot of pressure. Pendergast has soaked it up, he's defended well from it, and at the moment he's still in the lead with what will be 1 more lap to go.
Yep, as we're now approaching the 1 minute mark, this should be the last lap, unless not seeing the server tick over to last lap just yet. It's still showing green rather than the white flag for the last lap, but with now 45 seconds left, I think it's safe to assume that we are approaching the last lap. So as things stand right now, Pendergast is still in the lead with Jonathan Seville about a second back, almost 12 seconds back in 3rd place. In final podium position, we have Oscar Sandberg, and the rest of the Pro Class is just kind of relatively even spaced out at the moment. Looks like Troel Silberg managed to get past Chris Stevenson for P8. Guessing that Stevenson didn't really want to fight that, especially since it's not a class position, and he's very much thinking about that AM class title, wanting to make sure that's safe and secure, and probably I'm pretty sure he can maintain that championship lead and win that, being that his rivals would be behind, even though Violet Miller looks like she's on track to win this evening in the AM class. Pretty sure Stevenson will wrap up that AM class title here for, as we're seeing now, the white flag's out, the time has expired, so the cars should be on their last lap now. It looks like Seville's pulling a little bit of that ground back in, with it being about 7/10, but yeah, unless there's a last lap heroic lunge through the bus stop chicane, I don't think that there's going to be a last corner pass for the lead, but we shall see how that pans out. But as of right now, I don't imagine Pendergast suddenly having an opening in that incredible defense he's been putting out all evening.
It's going to be a last gap into this chicane, but Pendergast defending well, but yeah, just put the car in the middle of the track there and defended that position absolutely sublime.
Yep, putting a little bit of slide in there just to make sure Jonathan doesn't try any sort of trickery as Pendergast comes across in P1, followed just marginally later with Jonathan Seville in P2, only 0.3 of a second. Oscar Sandberg crossing the line just now in P3, final podium position. Anders Amundsen in P4, Lucas Weiss in P5, David Oak following up shortly here will get P6. And Violet Miller approaching the bus stop chicane now in P7 will take the AM win. Well done, Violet. Only being able to take part in a few races this season, but definitely having an amazing showing for the Turn 1 Valkyries there in P7, taking the M-Class win. Will Solberg has himself a pretty decent recovery drive, starting in P12, falling backwards due to an unfortunate half spin, and then making it all the way back up to P8. So well done, Trolls, this evening. Adam Gardner is in P9, managing to just pip Chris Stevenson for the 10th position, although I think he's still got that AM title wrapped up. Jonathan Marsh in P11, John Cheel in P12. We have Henry Handy coming across the line P14, just behind Michael Hutchinson, who got lucky 13. Andy Purcell in P15. Martin Bryant P16, Franz Schuvler in P17, Simone Capelli brings it home in 18th position, Tristan Ferguson in 19th position, Carl Smith in P20, and Miles Dixon, unfortunately, at the back after what looked like some unfortunate dramas here in the race. So that is one race at Spa. That would be the end of season 8, and certainly ended in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic battle there, and yeah, great to see. And as I said before, it's been a fantastic season all along. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what you guys do with the next season, because I think this one's been absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that was definitely quite the season. Some very close battles, a lot of dramas, and it's interesting with Anders Edmondson, who was Seville's primary rival last season, falling away. Karen Pendergast and Garrett Fisher both attempted to step into that role and potentially fill that role as rival to Jonathan Seville, and it seems like there's certainly the possibility that that title in the upcoming season 9 registration's open, by the way. That title could go to a couple of different drivers next season, depending on the entry list. So that'd be really interesting to see. We're just waiting to see if anyone will, any of our runners will volunteer to enter the waiting room for an interview. You know, don't have to be bashful, gents. Maybe they're needing to dry themselves off after quite the sweaty evening. But as we're going through the highlights now, some absolutely cracking and fierce battles this evening. So yeah, we'll actually looks like they've popped in now. So we'll grab our race winner, Karen Pendergast. Welcome to the commentary booth for one more time here in season 8. Quite a drive this evening. Looking in the mirrors, making some. Having to do some defensive driving, but also nailing the pit strategy to perfection. Can tell us about your race?
It was a good race from start to finish, to be honest. In regards to quali, I mean, I managed to mess up my quali lap as well going into the chicanes. I reckon we probably would have got pole if we had nailed that. But I felt positive about the race. But yeah, I mean, other than that, you know, I got a good start. Ran a bit less swing than what I'd normally run, which, you know, kind of paid off in the end, which was good as well. But yeah, it was very exciting. Good bit of battling throughout the whole race as well. But yeah, felt really good today.
Yes, we were just couldn't take our eyes off the battles. So you hoping with perhaps with next season and being able to do the full season of Exile, do you think you might be able to steal the title off Seville?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd like to, you know. I mean, with no practice done today and literally just, you know, sending it and hoping for the best. I've done literally the quali was my practice effectively. So, you know, hopefully with a bit more preparation, you know, we could perhaps grab the title next season.
Well, well done this evening. Best of luck to you next season. And if that was coming in with no prep, I'd be be amazing to see what you can do when you have a little bit more practice time. But also, so that some of the other viewers know, Kieran has qualified for the SRO Esports Series. So well done to that as well, and good luck for that, along with for season 9.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Right. So we'll say goodbye to Kieran for now, and what we'll do is, since it was such a cracking battle, we'll welcome Jonathan Seville into the booth really quickly here. Jonathan, that was quite the battle. I'm sure you were doing everything you possibly could to fill Kieran's mirrors. What was it like trying to try and get that one move to potentially work and stick?
Annoying. Because, yeah. Do you know if I'm guessing he didn't take tyres in the pit stop. I don't know if you asked or not. But yeah.
No, we hadn't asked. We kind of figured that you guys were so close together on track that neither of you would want to risk that extra 5 seconds changing tires.
I don't know. I felt, well, I'd either looked after the tyres better, or he had gone no tyres and I had gone for tyres, because I felt my pace was a lot quicker in the second stint than his. But he defended really well. It was really frustrating trying to get past him, because I couldn't, obviously. Yeah, I feel like it was, that's twice he's done me on the starts. I need to sort that out, because that's what did it in both the races. He's beaten me, so work on my starts and not let him buy then. I feel.
So we obviously the stewards need to do their final pass, and the total points from both the series need to be tallied up. But it looks like you're probably, I'm assuming you're going to be champion 2 seasons in a row. You think Kieran might give you a further run for your money next season, or are you going to be ready for him?
It'll be interesting. Because he's quite a quick driver himself. So I'd look forward to it, because that'd be quite an interesting fight. Still a bit gutted about today. I really felt I could have had him, but he did a really good job defending. So great job by him.
Right. Well, excellent season 8, Jonathan, and best of luck for next season as well. We look forward to having our own Exiled version of Max and Lewis with yourself and Kieran. So, but we'll let you go, and
thank you.
We'll see you next season.
See ya.
Right, and we'll now move on to our AM class winner. We're going to welcome Violet Miller into the interview booth. Violet's unfortunately couldn't quite take part in the entire series, a bit of a latecomer, but last race of the season, making one heck of a splash and making one heck of a statement. Tell us about your race this evening.
Well, I mean, I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning. It's 3:21 now, working on the car, working on the setup in Motec, and just really been learning so much. And I've been completely enthusiastic the whole time through, and it's really great to see all that hard work, commitment finally pay off. And I'm happy about that. And I had a great time on track today, and it was just good, clean fun.
Yeah, no, it was really good to see, and having shared a car with you before, I know you're actually have really good pace and really strong at Spa. So
it could be a little better.
There you have it, everybody. There's always a bit of room to improve, but very inspiring drive. And as the team or the Valkyries manager over at Turn 1, very happy to see so well done again this evening, Violet.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
right.
A great race.
Yeah. And if you're in for season 9, best of luck to you for next season. And we'll let you go and grab the final podium position here with welcome to the interview booth. We'll have Oscar Sandberg, P3, bring it home in the final podium position. Before I say tell us about your race, those two aliens that make getting victory pretty tough.
Yeah, I didn't came into this race today to win, but more to enjoy the company of the Exiled community and driving a very nice race together with my teammates. Yeah, and it worked out. I'm very happy with the P3. I felt I had a quite safe back, you can say it that way, with Anders, and then in the end with Lucas. You know, when you have so good drivers behind you, you don't really need to think too much about the mirrors. So it was easy to just lay behind and just focus forward and nailing that lap times. And I think I have actually never had so good race pace before. So because yeah, I mean, it was not good, but I mean, my say Spa is one of my hate-love tracks, say it that way. And yeah, I never really got the rhythm here before today, and today was easy to do 18s mid, and did a little different strategy than others did. I think you guys saw that. Was out quite long, and I think that paid off in the end. Had a good pit stop, yeah, and the race came to my hand this time.
So next question, we'll ask you to put your team manager and organizer hat on instead of just the driver's helmet. So for next season, well, let's put it this way. For season 8, we saw a lot of people deciding to go with the brand new car with the BMW, and this was obviously as a team boss developing a bank of setups for this brand new car that came in looking very strong. Do you think we're going to see a lot of BMWs again for season 9, or do you feel like perhaps the car didn't quite work out the way you wanted it to, and considering, or do you think other people will consider possibly making a change for season 9, especially with that brand new Audi Evo 2 coming out?
I think we will see a lot of changes, but I don't really think that the car will be forgotten, if you understand my point. I think we will definitely see a lot less BMWs on the starting grid. I hope too, because this time was a lot. I hope we will see a little more variety of cars, and for example, we don't see any Porsches here, and Aston Martin is very less. And yeah, so it have been cool to have a little more cars in, and I also think it will be. Yeah, we will see all the setups, of course, that are making for this car now does work with this BOP and with this weight, and you always develop setups before every race. For example, like today, between qualifying and race, we changed a few things on the setup, and it gave result directly, and this is how it always worked with these cars. And yes, new updates are coming, the cars are getting better and worse, and I think, to be honest, I think the BMW have a rock bottom now, to be honest with you. So I think that this would be the worst, you can say, we will see of the BMW, and because of this I also think that we will also see some BMWs, because it's so easy and nice to drive, you have the setups and all these things, but at the same time I think, yeah, I think we will see a more variety, maybe more try cars that are not so much used in say small championships like this. And take more the risk and trying new stuff, say it that way, maybe some Hondas, and yeah, you know, you never know what will come, and I'm really looking forward to season 9. My real life calendar is starting, so it will not be as much preparing as it was in the start of the season 8. It will be more like today, but I mean, if the result comes like today, then I will be happy.
Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see how the field shakes out for season 9, and best of luck to yourself for season 9, and possibly seeing you in a Honda, although I don't know if that was necessarily the implication. But
I don't think you will see me in a Japanese car, no.
Or maybe going with that that Porsche that we've often seen you in on the Nordschleife, possibly. But we'll see how that shakes out. But best of luck for Season 9, and we'll let you go and grab our last interview of the evening. We are going to grab our last interviewee, last person on the casting couch, Chris Stevenson. Welcome to the interview booth one last time here in Season 8.
Good evening.
Really quickly, looks like, based on the provisional math, that you're going to hold that AM championship. Tell us a little bit about your race this evening.
It was hard, man. It was so hard. Like, I was just defending for my life the entire time. And I tried to outplay Hutchinson in the pit by not taking tyres, and then regretted it on the way out because they were gone. But no, I think I'm happy with the result. I really am. Shout out to Kieran for helping me with the setup today.
Well, it looks like you managed to hold everything together, and it was not a case of having to win an AM class, but just bring the car home, score some decent points, and even though you had to defend for your life in a number of occasions, looks like you certainly managed to do that.
Yeah, the goal was never to win today. It was just to bring the car home in front of my my P1 Tyee, as it were.
Well, certainly managed to get things done this evening, so best of luck to you for Season 9, and provisionally, of course, congratulations. But
Thank you very much.
we'll let you go, and